Have you ever found yourself saying yes when every part of you wanted to say no? Maybe a friend asked for help moving, even though you were already drowning in work. Maybe your boss dropped another project on your desk and you smiled politely instead of admitting you were at your limit. Or maybe it was something smaller, like agreeing to attend a dinner when all you wanted was to stay home in silence. And yet, you nodded, you smiled, you agreed, because the thought of disappointing someone felt heavier than the exhaustion you were already carrying. Ava knows this feeling all too well. She is kind, hardworking, and dependable, the person everyone turns to when they need something. On the outside, she seems like the perfect friend, coworker, daughter. She rarely complains, she always shows up, and she makes sure no one ever feels let down. But behind that calm, generous smile is a woman running on empty. Last month, after staying late at the office for the third time in a week to finish tasks that weren't even hers, she came home to her tiny apartment, sat on the couch, and cried quietly into her hands. She didn't cry because she hated helping. She cried because she realized she had nothing left for herself. This is the hidden cost of people-pleasing. It's not just about saying yes. It's about what we sacrifice every time we silence our own needs. It's the skipped workouts, the restless nights, the endless cycle of overcommitment that leaves us feeling invisible in our own lives. And the cruelest part, even when we try to stop, guilt sneaks in. That whisper inside, what if they think I don't care? What if they call me selfish? What if they leave? That guilt chains us to the habit, making us believe that our worth depends on how much we give, even when it breaks us. But here's the truth most of us avoid facing. Constantly pleasing others doesn't make us more lovable. It makes us more forgettable. Because when you erase your boundaries, when you shrink your voice to fit everyone else's needs, the world doesn't see the real you. It only sees the version of you that's convenient for them. And slowly, without noticing, you lose yourself. So let me ask you again, how many times have you said yes when your whole heart was begging you to say no? And what if I told you that learning to stop people-pleasing doesn't make you cold or selfish or unkind, it makes you free? Do you believe? Recognizing people-pleasing. Now that we've opened the door with the hook, let's go deeper. If you want to stop people-pleasing, the first step is to see it clearly. Because here's the truth. People-pleasing isn't just about being kind. It's about losing yourself in the process of trying to keep everyone else happy. Think about it. You're exhausted after a long day. All you want is to go home, take a shower, and rest. Then a friend texts, "Let's grab dinner. I really need company." Your body screams no, but your lips whisper yes. You show up, smile, nod, but deep down you're running on empty. That's not kindness. It's self-abandonment. Or picture this. Your coworker suddenly dumps a last-minute project on your desk with a deadline you know is impossible. Instead of saying, "I can't," you swallow your stress and agree. You work late into the night, your own plans forgotten. On the outside, you look dependable. On the inside, you feel resentful and invisible. It even shows up in the smallest moments. Someone says something hurtful, but instead of speaking your truth, you rush to apologize just to smooth the tension, even when you did nothing wrong. Or you give compliments you don't mean, just so they'll like you. At first, it looks like generosity. But if you look closer, it's fear wearing a smile. Fear of being rejected. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being labeled as selfish. That's the hidden fuel of people-pleasing. And the hardest part, most of us learned it young. Many women grew up in homes where their worth was tied to how much they could give, how much they could sacrifice, how well they could make others comfortable. Maybe you were praised for being the good girl who never complained, who always helped, who kept the peace. Slowly, you started to believe, if I'm not pleasing others, I'm not lovable. But let me ask you, at what cost? Every time you silence your needs, you trade a piece of your freedom. Every time you smile when your heart is breaking, you hand over a piece of your authenticity. And every time you apologize just to be accepted, you give away a piece of your power. Recognizing this pattern isn't about shaming yourself. It's about waking up. Because once you see that people-pleasing is not kindness, But self-neglect, you begin to take back your choices. You begin to notice, am I saying yes because I want to or because I'm afraid to say no? That moment of awareness is the beginning of change. And here's what I want you to hold on to. You do not have to earn love by exhausting yourself. Real love doesn't demand you disappear. Real love values your no as much as your yes. Real love honors your voice, even when it trembles. So before we talk about how to break free, pause for a moment and reflect. Where in your life are you saying yes when your heart is screaming no? Because awareness is the first act of courage. From there, everything else begins. The core of the problem: why do we feel guilty when we stop people-pleasing? At the heart of people-pleasing lies a deep fear, the fear of losing love and acceptance. Many of us grew up with the belief that our worth depended on how useful, kind, or agreeable we were to others. We were taught, sometimes subtly, sometimes directly, that saying no meant risking rejection. Think back to childhood. Maybe you were praised when you shared your toys, but frowned upon if you ever said you didn't want to. Or perhaps as you grew older, you noticed how quickly people labeled you as difficult the moment you stopped accommodating them. Over time, that message sank in. If I don't please others, I won't be loved. I remember a girl once sharing with me her experience. She said that whenever she declined an invitation to hang out, her friends would call her arrogant or too good for them. At first, it hurt her feelings, but as it kept happening, she slowly started to believe it. She began equating self-care with selfishness. To her, putting herself first meant betraying the group. This is how guilt takes root. Not real guilt, but a false, conditioned guilt, a voice that whispers, "You're wrong for prioritizing yourself." The truth is, guilt becomes the invisible chain that keeps you trapped in a cycle of saying yes, even when your soul is begging you to say no. And here's the most powerful insight. That guilt does not come from your heart. It comes from conditioning. From years of being told that your value depends on how much you give away. Recognizing this is the first step to freedom. When you understand that the guilt is not a signal of selfishness, but a residue of old beliefs, you start to see that loving yourself is not betrayal. It's liberation. How to stop people pleasing without feeling guilty. Before we talk about solutions, let me ask you this. How many times have you said yes with a smile, while inside your chest your heart whispered, no? That tiny twist in your stomach, that quiet sigh you ignored, those are not small things. They are signals. Signals that your truth is waiting to be heard. So how do you finally break free from this habit of pleasing everyone but yourself without drowning in guilt? The answer is not about becoming cold or selfish. It's about learning a new way to love yourself while still respecting others. And it starts with small but powerful steps. Step 1, recognize your true feelings before you answer. Here's the truth. Most women who people please don't even realize they are betraying themselves in the moment. It happens so fast. Someone asks for help, and before your mind has even processed it, your lips have already said, "Sure, no problem." And then you walk away with that heavy feeling in your chest, wondering why you agreed again. The very first step is learning to pause. Just 5 seconds can change your entire life. The next time someone asks you for something, resist the urge to respond immediately. Instead, take a breath and ask yourself silently, do I truly want to do this? Or am I just afraid of disappointing them? Let me give you an example. I once had a friend who constantly leaned on me to proofread her work at midnight before her deadlines. Every time I said yes, even when I was exhausted. One night I finally paused. I put my phone down, closed my eyes, and asked myself, what do I really need right now? The answer was simple: sleep. That moment of honesty was uncomfortable, but it was also freeing. Recognizing your feelings doesn't mean you're selfish. It means you're respecting yourself. When you start practicing this pause, you'll notice how often your automatic yes is driven not by love, but by fear. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of being seen as not enough. Once you see it, you can choose differently. Step 2, learn to say no kindly but firmly. Now that you've identified your real feelings, the next challenge is putting them into words. And here's where many women get stuck. Saying no feels like slamming a door. But it doesn't have to. Think of no not as rejection, but as redirection. You're not shutting someone out. You're simply guiding them back to their own path while protecting your own. The key is to be both gentle and clear. You don't need to over-explain, justify, or apologize 100 times. One kind but firm sentence is enough. For example, I really appreciate you asking me, but I can't help this time. Or, I'm so sorry, I won't be able to join today. Notice how simple that is. No drama, no long story. Just a boundary, spoken with kindness. The first time you try it, your voice might shake. Your heart might race. That's normal. Remember, your nervous system is used to pleasing, not protecting. But the more you practice, the stronger you'll feel. And soon, saying no won't feel like an act of rebellion. It will feel like an act of self-love. Because here's the secret. Every no you give to others is actually a deeper yes to yourself. And the women who learn to say no without guilt, they don't become colder. They become freer. They become lighter. And their yes becomes more powerful because it finally comes from a place of truth. Step 3. Shift your perspective on guilt. One of the biggest obstacles women face when they start setting boundaries is the wave of guilt that follows. We've been conditioned for so long to believe that choosing ourselves means letting others down. That's saying no is selfish or even cruel. But here's the truth. Saying no to others is often saying yes to yourself. Every no you give is a doorway to something more important: your health, your peace, your family, your dreams. Ava learned this lesson the hard way. For years, she had never turned down a request at work. If a colleague needed extra help, she was there. If her boss piled on more tasks, she accepted them with a smile, even when her body was screaming for rest. Then one Friday afternoon, a coworker asked her to stay late and finish a project. Her chest tightened, her palms sweated, and that old familiar voice whispered, "You can't say no. They'll think you're lazy, they'll be disappointed." But something in her shifted that day. With trembling lips, she said quietly, "I'm sorry, but I can't stay tonight. I already have plans." The silence that followed felt like an eternity. She braced herself for judgment, but it never came. Her coworker simply nodded and moved on. Ava left the office in shock, her heart pounding. On her way home, she walked through the park, watching the sunlight drip through the leaves. That evening, she had dinner with her family. She laughed with her children, listened to her husband's stories, and realized the world had not collapsed. No one hated her. No one thought less of her. Life went on, and she finally had space to breathe. That night, Ava understood something profound. Guilt is not always truth. Often, guilt is just a reflex, an echo of old patterns that taught us to place everyone above ourselves. But guilt can be transformed. It can become a reminder that every no is also a powerful yes to the life you deserve. Step 4. Anchor your worth in yourself, not in others' approval. When you tie your value to how happy others are with you, you become a prisoner of their moods and opinions. One compliment can make you soar, and one frown can crush you. But your worth was never meant to live in someone else's hands. It was always meant to be rooted inside you. Think about it, the people around you change. Their expectations shift. One day you're praised, the next day criticized. If you keep measuring yourself by their reactions, you will always be chasing a moving target. The real freedom comes when you begin to see your worth as uncheckable, no matter what anyone thinks. Ava started practicing this by reminding herself, I am worthy of rest. I am worthy of saying no. At first, it felt unnatural, almost defiant. But with repetition, these words began to sink in. She noticed how her posture straightened when she said them. She noticed how her heart felt lighter. And slowly, she stopped needing the approval of others to feel enough. This is where self-love stops being a vague idea and becomes a daily practice. You are not valuable because you meet everyone else's expectations. You are valuable because you are you, because you exist, breathe, dream, and bring light into this world. The affirmation, I am worthy, is not just a phrase. It is a declaration of independence from the endless cycle of seeking validation. Step 5. Practice in small, everyday ways. Like any new skill, setting boundaries grows stronger with practice. And practice does not have to start with big, dramatic changes. It begins in the quiet, ordinary moments of your life. Start small. Maybe you are exhausted one afternoon, and a friend texts to invite you out for coffee. Instead of forcing yourself to go, you gently write back, "Thank you for thinking of me, but I need to rest today." That single act is enough. It is proof that you are honoring your energy. Next time, you might say no to staying late at work or decline a phone call when you need solitude. These tiny steps build courage. Each no you give yourself strengthens the foundation of your self-respect. And soon, you realize that boundaries are not walls, they are doors. They don't close you off from love. They open up space for the right kind of love to find you. Ava discovered this over time. With each small refusal, she gained more clarity about what truly mattered. She no longer said yes out of fear. She said yes when her heart aligned with it, and no when it didn't, because balance gave her life a new rhythm, one that was sustainable, nourishing, and free. So let yourself begin today. Say no to one small thing that drains you, and watch how it creates room for something beautiful. Boundaries are not selfish. They are acts of self-love, and self-love is the soil where all other love grows. There's one truth I want you to carry with you. Stopping people-pleasing does not make you selfish. It makes you honest with yourself and with others. And that honesty is the foundation of real love and genuine connection. Because when you stop living to satisfy everyone else, you finally start living in alignment with your own heart. Think about it. When you say yes out of fear, guilt, or obligation, you're giving away pieces of yourself that were never meant to be sacrificed. But when you say no with clarity, you create space for a stronger yes to the things that matter, to the people who respect you, and to the life that truly belongs to you. That is not selfishness. That is courage. So let me ask you, have you ever felt that wave of guilt when you wanted to say no? Did you swallow your truth just to keep the peace? If you have, I invite you to share your story in the comments. Your experience might be the exact spark another woman needs to break free from the same chains. And if you want to keep walking this journey of self-love and healing, make sure to follow or arise. This is a space where we grow together, where your voice matters, your heart is safe, and your worth is never up for debate.